Learning English through stories. Why do we all love funny stories? You should begin by making a list of funny stories you know, and then brainstorming characteristics that describe those funny stories. Do you know L.A. Hill's funny stories? How well do you remember any stories? Tell me about one. You should pause the video clip for 5 minutes, work on your own or in the group. As a child, I loved sitting on my grandfather's lap while he read me stories. I remember most of them even though I am now a grandparent, too. As a child, I was blissfully unaware that, as I listened to the stories, I was also learning new words and ways in which those new words combined to communicate ideas and life lessons. A good story encourages us to turn the next page and read more. We want to find out what happens next and what the main characters do and what they say to each other. We may feel excited, sad, afraid, angry, or really happy. This is because the experience of reading or listening to a story is much more likely to make us feel that we are part of the story, too. Just like in our real lives, we might love or hate different characters in the story. Perhaps we recognize ourselves or others in some of them. Perhaps we have similar problems. Because of this natural empathy with the characters, our brains process the reading of stories differently from the way we read factual information. Our brains don't always recognize the difference between an imagined situation and a real one, so the characters become alive to us. What they say and do is therefore more meaningful. This is why the words and structures that relate to stories, events, descriptions, and conversations are processed in this deeper way. Fanny and Ethel, by Leslie A. Hill. Fanny and Ethel worked in the same office, and they were neighbors at home. Fanny was rather a careless girl, and she often lost things. Then she usually went to Ethel to borrow more from her. Ethel was a kind girl, but she sometimes got tired of lending things to her friend. One Saturday afternoon, Fanny knocked at Ethel's front door, and when Ethel came to open it, Fanny said to her, "Oh, hello, Ethel. Please lend me a bag. I've lost mine. I'm going to the shops, and I feel very stupid when I haven't got anything in my hand when I go out in the street." Ethel laughed and answered, "Well, Fanny, go down to the end of the garden. You'll find a nice wheelbarrow in the shed there. Take that when you go down to the shops. Then you'll have something in both of your hands. Word outside the 1000, wheelbarrow." You can pause the video clip while read aloud the funny story. Next, you should work together in small groups to read, discuss, and analyze funny story. If your student is reluctant to read or has little confidence in their ability to read in another language, you might help them by reading the story to them, stopping when necessary to interact and ask questions like, "What do you think will happen next?" If you read to your student in a relaxed and fun way, they will subconsciously relate to the reading and language learning process more confidently and positively. Of course, being read to by a teacher, for whatever reason, is also simply a lovely way to share quiet and close time. Answer the following questions. 1. Why did Fanny often lose things? 2. Why did Ethel lend things to Fanny? 3. Why didn't Fanny want to go to the shops without a bag? 4. Why didn't Ethel lend her a bag? 5. What did she want Fanny to take to the shops? 6. Did Fanny take it, do you think? Which of these sentences are true? Write the correct ones down. 1. Ethel often borrowed things. 2. Fanny often borrowed things. 3. Ethel often lent things to Fanny. 4. Fanny often lent things to Ethel. 5. One day Ethel lost her bag. 6. One day Fanny lost her bag. 7. Fanny liked carrying something in her hand. 8. Fanny did not like carrying things. 9. There was a shed at the end of Ethel's garden. 10. There was a shed at the end of Fanny's garden. Write this story. Ethel's house is in a small. It has a small at the back, and there is a in it. Ethel keeps her there. Ethel is a clever. She works in a. This is Ethel. She is at the of her house, and she's got a in her left. Because she is going to the. In fact, cultures all around the world have always used storytelling to pass knowledge from one generation to another. Our ancestors understood very well that this was the best way to make sure our histories and information about how to relate to others and to our world was not only understood, but remembered too. Notice that the word history contains the word story. More accurately, the word story derives from history. Encouraging your student to read or listen to stories should therefore help them to learn a second language in a way that is not only fun, but memorable. The experience of reading or listening to a story allows us to escape our own lives for a moment and live in another one in a fun and safe way. In the same magical experience, a goldmine of language may be learned, so to encourage your student to read stories in their second language as well as their first. Stories don't only offer the young reader a chance to read. The experience also creates an opportunity to talk about the story. As a teacher, you can encourage your student to describe their favorite person, part of the story or picture. Their creativity might be developed by drawing new story pictures or even by writing their own short stories as a result.